Hello, this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. I am Tom Goodwin, and this is Michelle Ronquillo.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. The subject today is overindulgence. And what happens is if you want to develop yourself spiritually, you have to have energy to do it. And a lot of times people put too much of their energy into other things, and they not only tune them that they don't not only don't have the energy to focus on the spiritual, and that is that which is in the spiritual is really relevant, but they also can wear themselves out by doing too much or not getting the rest, and a lot of the spiritual has to do with rest and meditation. So when you ignore the spiritual, a lot of times you become restless and you don't get enough rest, and that is harmful.
Sometimes when people overindulge in a sense of numbing, they don't want to really feel the pains and trials of the everyday spiritual things that happen to us in life. So they overindulge in different numbing things that become very harmful spiritually.
And it's sort of like an addiction. It's not the same as an addictive drug, but the numbing will work a certain amount like an addiction. It's just not maybe as powerful, but it has a similar impact.
Yeah, it goes into like disorders of like eating disorders. You overindulge to eat to numb, or you overindulge in throwing up your food. You get obsessive with things. It is all about a spiritual balance, that you keep the perceptions of what you are trying to do without going overboard to where you are indulging into these things that are becoming very harmful to your spirit.
And it has a lot to do with your priorities, which
Yes.
which is going to vary from person to person. Because some people have talent and ability in engineering, so they're naturally going to be putting a lot of their mind into the engineering. So you try to put your mind in areas that you're really capable of in a productive way, but you have to have enough of the spiritual taken care of, because in order to be really good at anything, you have to have the motivation and inspiration and the drive which comes from the spiritual. So if you aren't rooted enough in the spiritual, you aren't going to be really good at anything. Now, it's going to, as I say, it's going to vary from one to a degree depending on what you're doing. Like with me, since my focus is in the spiritual itself, then you end up having a person that's a stoic that only eats food for nutritional reasons, and not a lot of people are going to want to go on my oatmeal and canned greens or raw tomato diet with I do add vitamin and mineral supplements, but I developed that diet so that it would work. And it works for me, being able to do extraordinarily intense things when it comes to meditative walking and dumbbell swings and things like that. So I can push the edge really hard physically and spiritually because of the diet I'm on. I'm a pioneer spiritually, so I needed to go to extremes in what I do in order to get the results. But um, I do get enough rest, and I'm careful what I'm doing, and I try not to overdo it, because when you overdo it, you don't get the results you want. You have to pace yourself, and the main thing is you have to be doing something that is productive for what for your purpose in life, and for what you're capable of, and the ability in the areas that you're capable. And if you're in the spiritual, is where you're going to have a tendency to indulge less in the worldly things, if that's your spiritual focus. If you're a professional in that area, you're going to have to, but not everybody's supposed to need to be a professional in that area. We need engineers, we need scientists, we need people of different areas.
Everybody.
So, and people in other areas are definitely going to have to focus on the material side of life related to their area of expertise.
Well, I think it's the most important part is to keep the priorities straight and to simplify spiritually in your life, and you're not cluttered with all so many things that can distract you, and also in the priorities, you're not feeding into um, desires or things that you want. You're literally keeping grounded of what spiritually is the realities of what you need to do, and the control balances that you need to watch for and become.
I mean, I find that desires and emotions are very much related. That when you get really good at controlling your emotions through meditation,
Yeah.
like I do, and I do it to an extreme, then I don't even have a desire for ice cream. Ice cream. Why would I allow ice cream to have any control over me? With all the challenges I've had in my life, these desires that a lot of people think are really important to me, they aren't even a big deal. They have no power over me because I have more serious things to be concerned about than bacon or ice cream or things like that. I mean, so that's what happens when you take things to the intense degree I do. Now I'm sort of like the extreme example. You don't have to go to the degree that I do, but I just
Yeah.
point that out that people can, and they have in the past. You have had ascetic spiritual types that have had tremendous control over the desires and the emotions. And in today's world, you have vitamins and nutritional supplements, and have all this knowledge about exercise and everything else. So we have an advantage today. We won't make the mistakes where we overdo it and we harm ourselves and do damage to ourselves in the process of trying to um, develop spiritually. In the past, there were mistakes and people overdid it, but we can do it in a healthy way. We don't need to fast and starve ourselves and things like that. We can eat less, but we can make sure that we're eating enough to stay healthy and be able to function really well all the time.
It is definitely there for people to be spiritually in tune with what things are controlling them in their lives that you can be overindulging on, and just take a look at that and put in the priorities and simplify it, and challenge yourself to tackle those things and work on them daily to better it, and get a reaction or results, excuse me, of that spiritual intensity that you're working on. Like Tom is an amazing machine to watch on his everyday routines. There's no way that I could possibly step in any of his footprints right now, because he's so advanced and totally above what I'm doing in my walks. But that's what's good about it, is that I'm competing with myself, not Tom. I mean, I look at him and compare the things, the spiritual knowledge and things that he does. I like ice cream, so it's amazing how much on a level of where he is and where I'm at, and I can look at that and just do the best I can for my life and the things that I overindulge in. I can watch those things and get rid of those things.
When you've been doing something really, really intensely for 30 years, you will stand out and be quite different. And um, it was in 1992 was when I had some near-death experiences, and I thought at that time I was really spiritual and I really had it together, and I was trying to reach the public with my ideas. And what I found was I wasn't ready, and that was a humbling experience. But to having the near-death experience and surviving all that um, pushed me in the direction of really going hard after that to try to become better. It's hard to have perspective and know how good you have to become, and it just is amazing that, I mean, I thought I was good, and you have to be careful in that direction. You have to be humble and realize that
Yeah, that's it.
you just have to work. You'd be surprised how hard people can work, but at the same time, I'm not overdoing my exercise. I do it intensely, but I make sure I get adequate rest and I recover
Yeah, you
well.
have to be knowledgeable of your own controls, your own limits of how far you push your spiritual, um, and really pat yourself on the back for everything that you do, and just go forward.
Because you'll notice athletes, um, they'll have sometimes have back-to-back games in basketball or whatever, and what they'll find is they don't play as well, and a lot of times they will lose those games. But if they have a day off, they play a lot better. And the thing with athletes, you notice that they have to know how to rest and recover, because if they don't get enough rest, they're more likely to get injured or hurt or
Yeah,
something. So with that balance, you have to have that balance, and
it's
you're
very
not going to be an athlete that can perform like that. You're going to need more rest days than an athlete. Most people are. I mean, not everybody is an athlete. Everybody's different. So you have to figure out how often can you exercise until still come back refreshed so you can perform at a real high level. When you do it to the point that you no longer can perform at a high level because you're old, because you're not allowing enough rest, then it becomes a problem, like the workaholic.
exactly.
The workaholic does not know when to stop, and then they end up getting bad results with their work. They aren't able to focus, and they make mistakes, and they're worn out. One can work really hard and get a lot done, but one has to know one's limit, and one has to know how much rest one needs.
Yes.
And the spiritual has a lot to do with rest.
Yeah, low energy states in the spiritual is very important because you don't even, like the people with insomnia, you don't need to actually sleep. If you can go into a low energy state, into meditations of just that low energy state, you are literally refreshing your body and your mind. But it is important to reach into those low energy states so you do not blow yourself up. Don't blow the engine up. You keep it oiled and greased and fine tuned spiritually so you can perform at the highest abilities of you.
And I don't necessarily have the normal sleep patterns. I combine sleep with meditation, but meditation does have a certain does help you recover, and
Yeah.
does give you does take care of some of your sleep requirements. And if you're good at meditation, what will happen is if you have insomnia because you get
That's me.
wired, or you've been in you had a lot of mental activity or things happening, you can do the meditation, and the meditation will get you in the state where you will fall asleep. If you need sleep and meditation's not enough, do the meditation and you will fall asleep. That's a guarantee.
Yes, and I am proven fact. I'm a guinea pig. Like I said, I do Tom's meditatives walks, and I do his meditatives when I'm having some insomnia issues. I listen to his wisdom, follow his words, and do the best I can at my levels.
And the spiritual is powered by emotions, and um, I have found that when you do learn to control emotions, you will learn to control desires. They're very much linked. Desires are almost like they're emotional based, because I find it goes together. And I guess you can say that when you can handle really tough emotions, then a lot of the desires lose their power over you.
Yeah, and then you can notice what are those things that you are um, overindulging in.
And you can overindulge in emotions.
Yes,
you can get
there's so many things.
You can get addicted to a blissful state.
Yes.
And the thing what you have to understand is all emotions have a purpose and a reason, and you just have to be willing to go into different emotional states and appreciate the value that they have.
And like Tom says, the humbleness, that is very important. That's a very, very important key.
I think we have covered this subject to adequate degree at this time. This is Positive Vibes Enterprise, and thank you very much. Oh, did it get shut off, or what happened?